Figured I'd do some mood lighting for this review, considering it's a horror film, which is an incredibly lazy excuse to say I just didn't want to move to the set for tonight because it's late. But I just saw Us, the new Jordan Peele horror film that has been long anticipated by many, myself included, because I'd like to state that I was absolutely pumped for this movie. I've been listening to that fucking trailer mix all week, and I saw it. And, I guess I seem to have sort of an unpopular opinion when it comes to this one. It seems to be well liked, not quite as liked as Get Out, but it's receiving very strong amounts of attention and you know, positive reviews, and I didn't really care for it. When the credits rolled, I found myself pretty let down for a number of reasons. I'm going to try and save spoiler stuff to the end so that I can talk about more basic film stuff and get that out of the way. A lot of people are saying it's hard to talk about this movie without spoilers. I disagree with that because a lot of the issues that I have with it are kind of just like basic movie stuff, which shocked the hell out of me. I know a lot of people are going to say it's unfair to compare this movie to Get Out. To that I say horseshit, because I think that Get Out gets a lot of what this movie does wrong right. It's comparing two works that I think are trying to do similar things, and one is far better and far more effective and far more successful, in my opinion. First and foremost, for me, is as a horror film, it's not scary. This movie is not frightening, really, at all, for me. There was one little thing that freaked me out. And it's like a little thing. And I was like, okay. It's obviously trying to be a horror film. There are jump scares all over the fucking place. They're all anticipated. You know they're all coming. And there's just this lack of suspense, because I think there are a lot of tonal inconsistencies when it comes to this movie. Get Out had a great mix of comedy and horror and suspense and thrills, whereas this movie, in your most intense moments sometimes, will opt for a joke or a moment of levity that sort of takes you out of it. And some things, comedy-wise, almost felt kind of unintentional to me. Like the little noises that the fucking replicant family makes when Winston Duke calls back to the other guys and goes, like, I don't know if that's meant to be funny or not. So if it is, it's taking me out of the moment. And if it's not, it's taking me out of the moment. There are so many moments in this film that I wanted to just latch me and terrify me, and it just wasn't doing it for me. I'm pretty easy to scare, too. I'm kind of a wimp. I don't like to see horror films because I get frightened very easily, and this movie did not scare me. Get Out has all sorts of great moments that make your skin crawl. Calling Get Out a pure horror film, to me, is incorrect. It's a thriller movie that's intended to give you this uneasy feeling. And there are so many great little moments that just fucking terrify you in Get Out. Like when all of them, it's the still shot and they're all talking. I'm gonna see if I can find the clip, but you know, everybody's talking, and Daniel Kaluuya walks upstairs and everybody goes silent and looks up. And it's just the most like, ooh, you know? This movie is missing that all across the board. It's just not scary. And that was the unfortunate element of it being a horror film. The script is largely where my problems sort of are encapsulated into one overall thing. I think that the script is weak in dialogue, in plot, which I'll get to with spoilers, and in characters. The dialogue is just fine. You know, there are good comedic moments, you know, because Jordan Peele is funny. But, you know, some of it feels kind of forced, mainly in the first act. Some of it feels very artificial and just strange. And then the character work, I thought, was weak. You've got the fucking daughter. Oh, she's always got her headphones in, and she's always listening to music, and she's always on her phone. Whatever. Okay. And I don't know. I just sort of overall feel like all of these characters are very two-dimensional. There's other than Lupita Nyong'o, there's really not much about them or their motivation that makes me cling to them or makes me intrigued in them as characters and makes me want them to make it to the end, other than the fact that they're the main characters. Lupita Nyong'o has a little bit more going for her. They give her a little bit of backstory. But these other characters, you get their personalities, sure, but some of their personalities are just very surface level foundations. Get Out with Daniel Kaluuya, you have this sort of great layered character with all these concerns about meeting his girlfriend's parents, and he's a very polite guy, but he's got his vices, and you learn so much about him, and it makes him that much more humane and connectable and interesting, and you're rooting for him, and this movie's missing that for me. And as a result, I never found myself invested in it the way I was invested in to Get Out, the way I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. And part of that is because this movie's not nearly as suspenseful, and part of that is because I didn't find myself invested into any particular character as I did in Get Out, which was unfortunate to me. Hold on, let me grab my list. I have a list. I have a list. Okay, I think I've sort of gotten across all my gripes that don't involve spoilers. I'll say most of the performances are pretty strong. Lupita Nyong'o is great. She does a really, really good job. I liked Winston Duke, did not love his performance. And I liked the kids. Other than, like, when the daughter is given something cool to do, she'll do it well. But when she's just token daughter who sits on her phone all the fucking time, you know, that's such a basic character trait and, like, a boring character trait that she doesn't really know what to do with it. And the little kid, the boy, for being as young as he is, was pretty good. You do get this real sense of dread out of him, and I thought he did a pretty good job. So, performance-wise, I thought it was strong. I like the score, and I like elements of the direction. I like how the movie looks. I like the cinematography. There are some shots that are really nice. There are a few that aren't so nice. It does feel like, and I'm going to get into spoilers here, because what I loved so much about Get Out was how blatantly clear it was that there was so much thought and effort put into every little shot. And I think that all came very naturally to Jordan Peele with Get Out. I think he really had this clear idea of where he wanted to go and how, and I think as a result, whether it was in the storyboarding or whatever, he knew exactly what he wanted in every shot, and it comes across as so meticulous as a result of that. And in this movie, I thought it was like kind of the opposite, where you hit the third act. I'm not going to, like, go through the whole fucking plot and explain everything. There are so many videos online that you can already find. But you hit the third act, and they have Lupita Nyong'o stand there and explain everything to you. Go, you know, us clones were a government operation, we're designed to keep humanity in check, and then you learn about the twist that Lupita Nyong'o was actually her double that was replaced at the beginning of the movie, which you call 10 minutes in, and they keep fucking going back to it. Cutting back to it. Oh, why can't the daughter speak? Why is the daughter different? Because it's obviously not the same girl. I don't know why they chose that to be their twist. It was very strange and very predictable from early on. But they explain everything to you at the end as opposed to letting you piece it together kind of like you did with Get Out. And there are some things they leave unanswered for a purpose, which I appreciate. You know, that's fine. People online, by the way, have the stupidest complaints. Where'd they get the scissors? Where'd they get the outfits? Who fucking cares? That's not the point. You know, some of the more, so they explain this weird stuff that feels so out of the blue, but leave unexplained things that I genuinely think are important. Like the idea that, yeah, they switched at the beginning, but why? And then Lupita Nyong'o starts her family or whatever and goes on to live this normal life. But why? For what? To what purpose? You know, what is her motivation? To just live a normal life? Alright, she goes back and she's all terrified, but why? You're not the one who should be scared, that was the other girl. Everything seems very convoluted to me. Get Out works because of its simplicity and its nuance and its plot. When the twist rolls around, everything is very condensed. Nothing is super over the top or grandiose. It's all very in front of you, and it's simple and it's grounded, and that's why it works when it tries to be interesting and take a different route. But when this thing tries to do it, because of this odd scale that it sets up for itself, it feels very convoluted as opposed to interesting and dynamic. I found it to be more of like headache-inducing than you're putting all these little puzzle pieces together by the end. And that sucks, because I really wanted this thing to have that kind of complex layer that I think just falters. And I don't want Jordan Peele to fall into like an M. Night Shyamalan thing where he feels obligated to have a twist or some big thing at the end of his movie that makes you go, oh, gotcha. You know, obviously he's a great mind with a lot of really great concepts. I won't argue that this movie has great concepts and unique ideas, because it does. But I don't want him to fall into this idea of being pressured to figure that out, to have to make that happen. I'd rather he just focus on making great film. And I'm worried that this movie is sort of a representation of he needed to make that happen, because the ending just doesn't work for me. It's too much, and there's you know, I'm fine with unanswered questions, but when the unanswered questions make me, you know, wonder about character motivation and the fact that I think it lacks sense, that's where it gets to be a problem for me, which is shocking to me. You know, these don't feel like problems that the guy who made Get Out would have, but I mean, they're there for me, and they're very pertinent. And I think this is a very opinionated film. I think it could be divisive, and I get why people like it, and I think it's great that people like it, but there's too much in it for me to ignore, personally, especially considering I really wanted to love it. And for me, it kind of let me down. But those are my thoughts on Us. I would give it a 4 out of 10. I don't think it's anywhere close to the quality of something like Get Out, unfortunately, but, you know, I would say if you're a horror fan, see it, but it's not particularly scary. And I think that element of it is somewhat indisputable. Like, I'm gonna go sleep like a fucking baby right now. You know, I want this thing to keep me up at night. I don't know. Anyway, I want to thank you all for sticking around through this kind of period of lack of content. It's all going to come back. We're going to start getting back into the swing of things. I've had a lot of work to do recently, but my high school career is coming to a close, so I promise more stuff coming shortly. But thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.